My future, who's now my daughter-in-law, moved in back in the house to help take care of her because I couldn't do it by myself. And then, at the end of the year, you go through the season, you look on television, you're like, holy shit, look at yourself, God. So, I just had to take care of myself a little bit, and so, I went the old-fashioned way. I used to just run all the time, but can't do it. I had to retrain myself, so I feel better, and we're in a better place this year, family-wise, with, a year and a couple of months from when she had the stroke. She can walk with a cane. She has no speech issues. She can remember things. She just can't drive, and when she could ever get that back, we'd be fine because then she'd have independence, and it's hard when your husband's gone all the time and your kids are growing up, you're home by yourself. But she's swimming and doing yoga and got a recumbent bike going in the house. So, I'm proud of her for where she's at. She's just got a ways to go.
Steve, all that said, and being in a better spot at home,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be a better basketball coach.
Yeah, I think
this season than you were a year ago.
I don't think there's any question. I mean, I thought I did a really good job, but I don't think I probably did, reflecting back on it. I just wasn't around. I was around for practice. But relationships are big in our program, and especially with me. And I don't know if I would. I know I wasn't there. I just physically couldn't be there all the time, And so I feel more connected to our players this year. One of the things we do a lot is we bring them to the house. I live right across the street from Wake, and so that's always been a big thing. We couldn't do it at all last year. We didn't do it till the first time was this summer, at the end of the summer. And it felt good to have the players back in the house, So, I think it's pretty obvious that that's when you have that thing going on in your life, you trick yourself and say, I can do both. And I did. And I don't know how. And but did I do a great job? I don't know. Probably not. And we did win 21 games, and we did win 11 AC games, but maybe we could have won more, and that's on me.
That connection with the players, how much does that also have to do with the fact you got a lot of guys back for more than I can remember?
That's not really a normal thing, in this day and age. But let's be honest, I had no scholarships in the spring and ended up with 6. So we had guys leave too, but we kept the right guys. Hunter Salas. He's one of the best players in college basketball. And, he could have got drafted. He just, he had a great relationship with his parents, his agent, and they made the decision to come back to college. And I never once talked to Hunter about it, ever. The first time we talked about it was when he called me to tell me he was coming back. I supported him the whole time. Now, I did talk to his agent and his dad a couple days before they made the decision, but obviously getting him back made me a better coach.
And then having Efton right from the get-go.
Efton hasn't played a full season since LSU his freshman year. He didn't play at Gonzaga. Last year he missed 9 games. And so I think he's got a whole different mentality headed into this season. I think he's one of the better bigs in our league. And then, Cameron Hildreth is a kind of an anomaly. Him and R.J. Davis, these guys are 4-year guys. RJ's a 15-year guy, but I'll be so tired. I'm glad when he's gone. But he's a hell of a player. But watching him grow, Cameron think about this. Cameron came to us, never met us. We signed him for a year and a half. I couldn't recruit because of COVID, so we only Zoomed with him. The first time he ever met me was his parents put him on a plane and flew him here to Charlotte. And he said, put my stuff in the boot. And I said, what's the boot? What are you talking about?
Trunk, yeah.
Trunk. I've learned that fast. He's come a long way. He's a 1,000-point scorer already. I think he's one of the hardest playing guys in college basketball. And I think he's kind of undervalued nationally. That's how really good a player that he really is. And he can do it all. He can defend, he can pass, he can rebound. He just plays really hard. So, retaining those guys was really important. And then, retaining Parker Frederickson, who's, put on 20 pounds and made 53s as a freshman, and I think he's ready to have a breakout year.
Steve, spending some time kind of living on that bubble
Sucks.
since you've been at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Like, can you just
It's hard.
and why do you feel like maybe you haven't gotten the benefit of the doubt?
Well, I don't think we won the right games, man. I think we had our chances. I think we lost at the wrong time, at the wrong place. We didn't win on the road last year. You know, we got the second best home record in college basketball the last 3 years, but you got to win on the road. And you know, last year we were ahead at halftime, 9 of the 10 road games, but we didn't bring it home. So, what happens when you're on the bubble? There's just the pressure builds. It's almost not. It's just not fun, you know. And I tried to make it fun with them. I really did. I was like, guys, just have fun, love each other, play for each other, let it happen. But they're kids, and they get on those things, and then they read all this stuff, and you know, and then I blast away once in a while, which you know, I got grumpy, you know, and so, you know, yeah, I could tell the pressure was getting to them. We had some huge wins. I mean, but then you lose a couple road games that you should probably win, and that costs you when you're on that cut line. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you know, 5 years ago when John Curry came to talk to me, he said, "Well, listen, Steve, you're going to go in 13 and you're going to win 13 ACC games. You're going to win 10 ACC games, and you're going to win 11 ACC games, and not make the tournament." I said, "Turn around and go home." You know, I mean, really?
Well, and then when you see all these teams advancing, you see Clemson
Yeah.
going to the Elite Eight. I mean,
Yeah.
I just imagine in your position that's just got to be, pounding the table
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I'm happy for them. I mean, I'm a team guy when in the league, but yeah, I mean, you know, we beat teams. NC State was in the Final Four, you know, but they finished 10th in our league. You know, that just goes to show you, man, you're playing right at the right time. We just haven't done that late in the year. And so I believe this team's a little more grizzled, you know, a little bit tougher because they've been through it. Those three at least. And then, you know, I guess this team's a little bit more like my East Tennessee State teams. This is a very athletic, long team, fast. Probably the fastest team I've coached. And so I think that'll help too when it comes to what you said. Like there's a fine line in every game, man. They all come down to a few possessions on offense and defense. It's not always just offense. You got to get stops. And so that's something we've talked about and worked on as best as you can in practice, but you're not going to know until you go through it when you get there.
Steve, I wanted to follow what Dan was asking about life on the bubble. There's been a lot of discussions about what the ACC needs to do as a whole to change this, 5-bid situation, maybe a narrative. You guys scheduled Michigan, for example. I mean, was that partly a result of saying, what can we do, everybody, to kind of pull the rope in the right direction?
I think scheduling is really important, and yeah, granted, the first year, in my second year, we're still coming out of COVID. I didn't really know what I had. I had Jacob Redvie, Alondas Williams, Dallas Walton, those are really good players, but I never even met them until I coached them. So our schedule wasn't probably what it needed to be for us to be in that large bid. We only lost one non-league game, but analytically we didn't stack up. So I think it is important. But I also think some of the leagues are going to come back towards our direction now because they've got more teams. We've had the most teams, and we've had 20 game league schedule. I think now you're looking at the Big 12 is expanded, the Big 10 is the transcontinental league. They're going to have a bottom too, and so we'll see how that plays out. This year, I just believe that it's going to come back. I also think this. Hey, let's be honest. We've had 3 Hall of Fame coaches retire, right? I mean, Boeheim and Kay and Coach Williams, and Bray's gone. Every league's going to go through this at some point. It's one of the reasons why my agent told me to take the job, was because those guys are going to retire. And I called Kay when he retired, and I apologized to him. He said, "Why do you apologize?" I said, "I knew I was going to scare you out of this league." And he said, "You got mental problems." But, every league's going to go through it at some point. And I think our league's done an unbelievable job of hiring some really good coaches. minus me and Young, that Damon and Pat and Mike is doing an unbelievable job. There's some good. There's some Adrian. There's some good young people that it's time now it's their time. And John and Hubert. Those guys are pretty soon. Young and I are going to be those guys in the league when Larrañaga and Leonard decided to hang it up. And so there's just been transition, but I think we're stable. And I don't know everybody's team because it's hard. I mean, everybody's got new guys, but I think our league's pretty good.
You mentioned the struggles on the road. Can you coach a team to be a better road team, or is it just be grizzled, like you said?
I mean, I think, that's my job to try to figure that out. I'm not real big on tricking people and changing things. That's just not who I am. I never had a problem winning on the road at East Tennessee State, or really most places I've coached. So I think we know what to do. We just got to go do it. Every team's different, right? And so, we've had some hard losses. We've lost twice at Duke by a basket. Everybody's going to go through that, right? And you just got to find a way to win them. I guess at the end of the year, you can ask me that again, and I'll either tell you I was right or I was wrong.
Steve, earlier today, Tony Bennett was talking about one way to bring stability to the current landscape would be collectively bargaining with the athletes. And number one, I wondered what you thought about that concept, and number two, it seemed that Tony was being more forceful in expressing his views about national issues.
Good.
And is that something that he needs to do more of?
Well, I don't
He's a
wanna tell
national championship
I'm not going to tell
coach.
Tony what to do. You know that. But I've been very vocal about saying that he's the voice of our league. You've heard me say this.
Yes, I have.
And I believe it because he has the most clout of all the coaches in our league. And I think he's intentional. I think he's very, very smart. Like, he just talked about collective bargaining. You're asking me, I don't know anything about collective bargaining. I got a history degree. I don't know shit. All right? But I'm sure whatever he said was probably on point.
It was really smart, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, but I think, would it be easier for you guys if you had a set structure and you're signing a player to a contract and it's a 2 or 3 year contract?
No question. Okay, we all have friends in the NBA. And he's pretty well documented. Nick Nurse and I are really close. And he's like, how do you do this? I think the hardest thing for me is not recruiting. It's retention. Because I know my players. And they got this number in their mind. And I'm like, are you crazy? Okay, but think about this. This is why they have a GM in the NBA. Because you don't have to coach them. So when Jamie comes down and says, man, I can't believe they gave me that deal. Like, man, you're my guy, man. I tried to tell him. But I can't do that. Because I still got to coach him. So the business model is wrong. And the other part of the business model is not correct is that you're asking for these numbers before you've done anything. Like, I got no problem with RJ Davis, Hunter Sallis, Mondo Baco, these guys. They should monetize what they've done. But and there's a handful of guys like Cooper Flagg. Okay, I mean, I called John a couple weeks ago because I got my dinner ruined. I was in Winston-Salem. I went to Chopped. I'm gonna have a salad with my wife. I get out of the car, and the New Balance store's looking right at me, and there's a whole window of Cooper Flagg in my face. And I called John. I said, John, God dang it, man, I can't even enjoy dinner in Winston-Salem. He started laughing. But I get that. Like, he's a generational talent. But you're right. I mean, if we had a salary, some type of salary structure, salary cap, and multi-year contracts, and if you want to break the contract, fine, then you got to buy out. Like I got. Everybody said, well, coaches can leave. No, we can't. I mean, we can leave, but you got to buy me out. There's money involved in it. Right? I don't have a zero buyout. These guys got unlimited transferring with no penalty. So it's a hard to sustain that model. So That's what he's talking
That
about.
is what he's saying.
Now, I may not bode well with my bosses. I don't know. And now I'm on the men's basketball oversight committee. I don't know what they think about it. So I guess I better be careful what I say. I don't know.
No, you shouldn't.
I won't. You know what I mean. But it sounds. I mean, that would make. I would feel a lot better about that. About how that kind of business model of dealing with the players. If we had that kind of structure, which we just don't have.
Steve, what do you think the impact would be of this being the last year of the college seniors moving forward?
The portal probably may not be as good. I'll keep my eye on that. I think those have kind of been the value guys a little bit, the guys with the extra year of eligibility. And I think now that we, with licensing coming in, I do think that, like, programs like ours, who really last year was the first year we really had any type of NIL, like, we're going to do a better job of retaining our players. So who's really going to be in the portal? Like, will it be as talented? Maybe it will. I don't know. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. There's always going to be the coaches that lose their jobs, their players are going to leave. There's always going to be, some of those really good mid-major players. But those mid-major guys, it's a big step. If you look at the guys that have been really successful for me, except for Jake Laravia, they're all high major transfers. And so that's just kind of where I look at it. So yeah, I think this is it, and now I can look at a roster and go, oh yeah, has he got a year left? No, yeah, he's done. And I think that'll bring a little bit more roster stability into it. Maybe it helps the high school kids a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I think high school kids still are important, but I think if they don't sign early, it's going to be hard for them in the spring because there's a whole different talent pool coming in of, transfer portal guys that they got to compete with. They never had to compete with in the past.
Steve, you got a chance.
Go ahead. Of the current returning coaches in the league, only 4 had winning records in the league their first year. Why is it so difficult for that early season?
Probably because it depends what kind of job you're taking over. Most guys getting fired, they're taking over. They're not in very good shape. So it's an uphill battle that you're just going to have a hard time winning. Now, if you're replacing Roy or Kay, that's a different deal. But most of us didn't. We're not replacing that. So it's the hand that you're dealt. And especially in my situation, I didn't even get a recruit. I didn't even make my team till July 30th, in July 20th. I got a job April 30th. I had no chance. And so I think, to answer your question, I think it's the circumstances and this wouldn't just be in the ACC, this could be anywhere in the country. It depends on the circumstances from which you take over the job. And can you retain the good players? And there was continuity. Give Carolina and Syracuse and Duke credit, they had continuity in their hire, right? Red, John, people have been there, they recruited the players, they knew the players. But coming in outside, it's tough. Look at Pat, he had to go sign a whole new team. Calipari had to sign a whole new team. Kentucky signed a whole new team pretty much. That's not going to happen a whole lot. And that made the portal even harder because those guys were in there, some savages in there. You know what I mean? So it's a good question. We'll see how it plays.
I was going to ask about Pat. You've had a chance to coach against him a couple of times in your previous stops. Just anything that stands out about scouting, coaching.
Yeah, I think Pat's teams they play really hard. They're well coached. They run good stuff. I think he's a guy that maximizes the talent of his players. He gets the most out of them. He doesn't he's kind of like me probably. He probably has more Burger King All-Americans and McDonald's All-Americans. But he gets them to play. Yeah. And so I got some McDonald's guys, but they went for a Big Mac. I got them for a Happy Meal. I respect. We played home and home when he was at Winthrop. Unfortunately, I had to play against DJ Burns a million times because I had to play him there, and I had to play him at NC State. He's another guy. Glad he's gone. But they made a great hire. He's a weight guy. He's got a lot of fond memories of Coach Prosser, and I think him and Chris Mack were instrumental in starting the Tie-Dye Nation. We're trying to keep that going. We really reignited our home crowd, and I'm sure that the young, well, it won't take much to pack it. They love basketball. They just got to have a reason, and that's kind of what we've done. So I think he's going to work. He's going to hustle. He's going to recruit. I know his staff. So it's just going to be a lot harder game.
He's also pretty close with Nick Nurse as well. Does that ever come up when you all talk? He said he came into his office one time at Winthrop, I think, because his wife played volleyball.
Roberta played volleyball there. I'm closer to Nick. It's a different relationship. Mine's a personal friendship that was based on growing up in Iowa and working camp together and staying in the same dorm room. And playing. He knows my children and it's just different. I mean, we do have a professional relationship, but we don't really talk about that very much.
Yeah.
I think Pat's probably more of a, it's probably more of a X's and O type thing. The only thing Nurse has ever done for me was we went 27 games one year, and when I was East Tennessee State, when he won the world title. So we went up to Chicago because he's a big baseball guy, and I took my family and he threw out the first pitch with Bird and the kid. We all stayed in the same room, same condo, and he said, "What in the hell are you doing on offense?" I said, "What are you talking about? I run high low." Because that's terrible. All right, sorry, Mr. World Championship guy. And so he was right. And so I went and studied motion, and he changed me. And I think, and we're one of the best offensive teams in the country, one of the best offensive teams in the ACC. And really, truthfully, because he got on my butt about it, And so that's one of the few times we probably have really ever got to that. We played home run derby. I stayed in his parents' basement working camp. That's the relationship that I have with him, and so I think ours is probably different.
Steve, you mentioned last year that when you're being left, you're winning so many games but not getting into the tournament, scheduling had to be addressed. And all the guys over there said, it's a tougher schedule this year. Obviously,
well, it is. We don't have any home games. Like last year, we beat Rutgers at home. We beat Florida at home. Play anybody else at home like that? Probably not. But to really have the net opportunities are better on the neutral, so that's why we're playing Michigan and Greensboro not at home. I have to go on the road and then the SEC deal because we had Florida at home, so now we go to A&M, which is a really hard game. Place I used to coach with Buzz. Got Florida again in Florida in the Disney tournament, and we have a return to Xavier from Skip Prosser Classic. So, it's hard because they're road games, but that's what we got to do. We got to win on the road. The tournament ain't played at home, so we got to go win. So here's our opportunities. Plus, we got better opportunities metrically, analytically to win on the road or neutral than you do at home. And to be a top 30 team. My second year, we won 25 games. North Carolina went to the national championship game, and we beat them at home, and they were 32 in the net on Selection Sunday. I didn't even get a quad one win out of that.
Yeah.
Really? Come on. All right. Next. But you understand? So it is challenging, and we don't get a lot of them because we have 20 league games. So you only got so many you can even schedule. Scheduling is really not that hard. You don't have that many. Try to schedule at East Tennessee State when you got a 30-win team. Nobody wants to play.
You mentioned in the other room that this is most athletic and fastest team you've had.
Yeah.
What's the comparable in that statement? And is it the portal guys that have set everything up, or is everybody just a year into the system?
I think Hunter, he's an elite athlete. Yeah, and Cameron is too. He's slimmed down, different. Like his is play hard. But you got Trayvon Spillers in Omaha Blue, who are elite level runners at 6'8", 6'9". You just don't get that, Ty Johnson is like quick on quick, fast, like fast, and he's very unselfish. He looks to get the ball to other people. Cosby and Parker, those guys can run too, and they can stretch the floor because they can really shoot it. Juke is athletic, he can run. probably forget somebody. But I think Spillers and Ballou bring a different dynamic to the 4. Now, I had a first-round draft pick at the 4 in my second year in Jake Laravia. Last year's I've had Andrew Carter's out in Kentucky. Those guys, Andrew stretched it more than Jake did. Jake was just a physical bruiser. Andrew was more of a finesse. Really, Andrew was kind of more of a face-up 5 than a 4, really. These guys are athletic. Now, they don't stretch it like those two guys, even though Jake didn't make a bunch. But they just bring a different dynamic of athletically running and defending and blocking shots. I mean, it's hard to get to the rim and make a basket in practice, and that's good.
Steve, you hired Mike Hughes kind of as the general manager, or he's in that role. That's a new kind of creative position almost in the basketball right now. What are kind of his duties, and how has he helped you, and what does that look like?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on that position. Really, truthfully, Mike's invaluable to me, Jamie, because he's been there for so long since skill. But truthfully, that's not what he does. He's community service and alumni, which he's outstanding at. He helps with some with that, with the NIL. But this is my thing with being a GM. I go back and forth. Ultimately, who's going to make the decision on the money? Me. That discussion is going to have to come to me. And so, especially with the licensing. So do I really need a GM? I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I haven't, that's something maybe for the future, but it might take me out of the conversation, which I don't really enjoy. I really don't. But the fact of the matter is the GM in college ain't making that decision on what that number is. I'm sorry. Now, he might be doing it over here in Atlanta and Philadelphia, but in Winston-Salem, ain't no way. And so I just don't know the necessity of it. I handle it. We got an AD, we got some other people that are in charge of that. But I may change my mind. A lot of guys, Alex Klein went to Syracuse. Woj is the same Bonaventure. But then I saw Woj on the road recruiting. I was like, oh, the GM's recruiting now. But you could put any of those 5 guys on the road that you want. So, I don't know, Jamie. We'll see. But that's not really technically what he does. He helps me a little bit with that, especially with donor relations with NIL. Because listen, you still have licensing, you still have to have your collective.
Yeah.
And then we're going to keep that for as long as we can.
Did you say you're negotiating the deals?
Who else would be?
Okay, so I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
Some coaches say the collective.
I'm really not in negotiating mode. We have a number, and that's our number. And I said this last week in my press conference. We're not negotiating. This is our number. You want it? Take it. If you get over here, good luck. More power to you. I got no problem. I get it. But so really, truthfully, there's no negotiation. This is just okay. This is what we got. Do you want it? Take it. If you don't, I get it. Good luck to you.
Sorry, we got to get him down
I
on
appreciate
TV.
it.
So.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh.
Steve, thanks, man.
Yep.